welcome to another episode of Better Life Project TV, the place to be to make your awesome business and life happen. My name is Sarah and I am so excited that you have joined me today for what I know is going to be an incredible episode. Today I am so excited to welcome Dr. Karen Coghlan, aka the Nut Coach, the genius behind the evidence-based Life is for Living nutrition, diet and exercise programs. Guys, let's give it up, give her a massive virtual round of applause, Dr. Karen Coghlan. Karen, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
It is amazing to have you here.
Absolutely.
I finally get to meet you in person.
An excuse to have a chat.
So tell us, or tell everyone who might not know what the Nut Coach is in your own words.
Yeah, kind of a funny one. The name, the Nut Coach, it's like nut is just short for nutrition.
Okay.
I don't know how anybody actually knows that, if they just think I'm just a pile of nuts.
I put it together.
Yeah. But it kind of actually, it covers that side of things, but it also encapsulates, when I came up with the name, because I'm quite strong advocate for mental health and stuff like that. So just having the kind of the nut, it's kind of like almost like a play on words as well, just because I think everybody is a little bit nuts in their own little special way.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to kind of shy away from that, I kind of like to embrace that and say, look, you are a little bit different, you are a bit nuts, so what? We're all grand. Yeah, so that's kind of where the name came from. It's a little bit funny one. So nutrition is the main game there, really. So what I do, I suppose, it's like a non-restrictive approach to nutrition. So typical weight loss, it's very faddish, very kind of list of banned foods. You can't have this, you can't have that. You can only have this, you can only have that. It's very much based on a lot of kind of myths, fallacies. I don't really know where all of the kind of the lies come from, but it's more just a kind of a positive approach. So rather than saying, well, I can't have, a Mars bar because it's going to make me fat, you go, well, I actually can have a Mars bar because I'm going to enjoy it, and if I enjoy this type of way of eating, then I'm more likely to stick to my diet. So it's more an injection of positivity into your food choices. So why a positive decision for your food choices? So,
and it's very empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, empowering is one word I use. Like it's on my website. I'll say it all the time.
One
like
of my favorite words
like empowering people, because that's people actually want. That's what they're seeking. Yeah, like they're seeking knowledge, and then when they're able to apply it, but themselves choosing it, not being told to do it, people just get this real sense of empowerment, and just they're able to kind of make these decisions themselves without being told to do it. So I think people do want to have that empowerment, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
And for you, it must be an incredible place to be in when you're able to, particularly with women, empower them with tools and knowledge, and a sense of it's going to be okay if you eat the chocolate bar. Yeah. Being able to, I guess, reflect over the impact that you're making must be unreal.
Yeah, it's days like that when I get the positive feedback. I do a lot of my work online, so it's not as if I sit day to day with everybody and they tell me how things are going. So it can be quite difficult to get the feedback, but the days when I do kind of makes up for hundreds of the days where I don't. So it's really rewarding, especially when people have told me, like, they might give me simple feedback, something like, oh, my husband told me I'm just a happier person to be around. And for me, that's just like, wow. Like, they may not have lost 2 or 3 stone on the weighing scales, but the fact that they're just more happy in themselves, and her relationship with her husband has improved just because she's stopped, avoiding certain foods, or just being a bit more kind of, I don't know, just being a bit less restrictive with their diet. Free. That's the word that people have said to me. Freedom has never tasted so good. So that's kind of like a lot of what people will say to me. So, it's easier for them to describe what I do than it is for me to describe what I do. Sometimes I just get a little bit stuck for words. But so like freedom never tastes so good. That's a hashtag one of my group members came up with. The whole I do living, not dieting. That's a hashtag that my members came up with as well. So I'll always ask them, describe the word, or describe your experience in 3 words. And most of them will ramble on with sentences and paragraphs, but sometimes I do get those 3 words and I just put them together and hashtag and use them in my posts and stuff. So so all of that sort of stuff comes from them, not really me. So
God, it's so refreshing to hear about this sort of approach towards diet and weight loss. I'm going to keep talking, but just check to make sure this is recording. I've had a absolute roller coaster, like most women, when it comes to diet and weight loss.
Meet your sister.
And I just wish that at some point during the journey, someone would have looked at me and gone, Sarah, eat the chocolate bar and be okay with it afterwards. Let's take steps towards that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why I'm doing it, because I wish someone had told me when I was 15 that that's what I could have done as well. Like, I dieted for 17 years of my life, so it wasn't as if, I just did a couple of diets and went, here, I'll do something about it or whatever. But I did a big experience with it all as well. And, I think it's one thing saying, I wish someone had told me, but if you're not ready to listen, and if your mind isn't open enough to receive the information as well, you're, no amount of, that's why sometimes I feel like I'm just annoying people, because I'm just like, so but if you're not ready to listen,
But how do you think that you overcome that? How do you think that you're able to inspire people, or how do you inspire or encourage people to listen to that message? Because I believe that it is a crucial message to be able to communicate towards, and I say women because that's my journey and that's who I am, and that's, I know, probably the demographic that will resonate with your work quite a lot. But how do you overcome that? How do you inspire women to listen to you, to open up?
Yeah, I think it's not something I kind of try to do, but it's just something that happened naturally. I find that what works best when people listen most is when I tell my story, and I tell it in a story where I'm not giving advice. I'm not saying, right, Sarah, you have to do this, you have to do that. I'll say, well, Sarah, this is what happened to me, and this is the result from that. So sometimes I think when I just tell my story and I put the words me and I, and this is how I feel, and this is what happened, people tend to kind of go, oh, and it sparks a bell, and they think, or it rings a bell, sparks, I don't know. Yeah.
Something goes off.
Bells don't get sparked. So it rings a bell and they go, oh yeah, do you know what, I'm going through something similar. And then, the more I can get people to engage with my stories, the more they're going to spread the word, because if they can relate to it, it has to be relatable. Yeah, so like, it's not as if I kind of purposely did that. I just found that's what works best. And you have to, I suppose, be consistent with the stories as well. So,
And what was the turning point in your story? What happened to make you realise there's another way? There has to be a different way to do this.
Well, it was quite dramatic for me. I think I had, people won't be too surprised here. I'm quite anti-paleo, but not for the.
Paleo ruined my life.
Oh yeah, well, I was just about to say, that was my breaking point. That was my breaking point. I go around doing a few seminars, and my opening slide is all the list of diets that I've tried. Weight Watchers was my first one when I was 15, and it kind of went from there. And everybody always has their kind of default diet, let's call it. So I know Slimming World is a big one these days. So while people might dip their toes in other diets here and there, they'll always kind of come back to that one diet because that's what worked for them. So Weight Watchers was always the one for me, and that's what worked for me.
Paleo was my one. You've basically just described my life.
Oh really? Yeah. See, what this is
I revert back to my paleo if I'm feeling stressed or anxious. My eating habits will, I don't want to say the word suffer, but I will revert back to my paleo days. And all of a sudden, I'll wonder why I have no energy. It's because I didn't eat carbs.
There you go. So
and
that's it. Like, just me telling you the story, you're like, see, I'm the same. So that's how you get through to people, because they go, oh yeah. And actually, that's another big thing about the group approach as well. I'm going off tangent a little bit, but that's the other thing about the group as well. People don't feel so alone anymore. They're like, oh, I'm not the weirdo who couldn't stick to my diet. You're going through it as well. And that gives people massive sense of relief. They're just like, exactly. I'm actually normal. They're not, the kind of messed up failures that they thought they were, when there's so many other people going through similar things with their diets. But anyway, back to Weight Watchers, and then it was kind of when I got to college days, and I kind of got more into the kind of the gym side of fitness, and that's where the whole low carb, don't eat this, restriction, that's where the restriction going. Like, at least with Weight Watchers, you were counting, it's calorie counting in disguise. You're just counting points. So for me, I kind of loved the numbers. Maths is my background. Loved maths in school.
That's where we differ now.
Oh, really?
I was actually like, it's like I'm talking to myself.
Oh, you've just ruined it. Damn it. But yeah, so I loved the numbers. It was always just like a kind of a thing for me. But at least with Weight Watchers, I was never restricted. I could still have my mini Mars bar. I could still have like mini chomps or little fudge bars or whatever it was. And I know there's obviously, downsides to that as well, where counting points does encourage you to kind of eat more processed foods, just because the number's there on the label. So it is easier to do that. So like, I'm not promoting it either way. good and bad points to everyone. So yeah, and then when I got more into the fitness, the gym side of fitness, that's where I got more exposed to this whole low carb thing. You can't eat processed foods, kind of the more restrictive nature side of things. So you can restrict calories or you can restrict certain types of food. So in a way, it's all kind of based around restriction. And yeah, and then when I was a vegetarian at the time.
It's okay, I'll forgive you. Apologies.
I know,
to any vegetarians watching.
I know, yeah. So, and when you're in trying to do strength training or in the gym, you don't eat protein, and next thing you're told you can't eat carbs either. It's just like, oh Jesus, what the hell do I eat? And I signed up to other kind of similar like nutrition programs as well, thinking, you know, there has to be someone out there that can help or whatever. And if I said, right, well, I had, say, corn, which is like a vegetarian protein replacement, to try get protein, because I knew I needed protein, but vegetarian diet is naturally low in protein. There's only so much eggs you can eat before you kind of like, I can't eat any more eggs. So, and I remember specifically being told, well, no, that's processed, you can't eat that. And I was like, well, what? Like what? I remember just getting no support and just thinking, what the hell am I supposed to eat? And, you know, I remember I had a little calendar at home, and I had day 1, 2, 3, and I'd cross them off. Like, that's how bad it was. You know, you're just willing your days away. Like, oh, I got to 4 days in a row, totally sticking to my paleo diet, whatever. And then I never got to 30, ever. Always kind of, you might get to 2 weeks, and then things kind of start to go a bit bonkers, whatever. So, yeah, it kind of got progressively worse. It started off low carb, then I even tried the ketogenic diet. As a vegetarian, so that's just nuts. Yeah, so really high fat, next to no carbs. So all I remember eating on that was just like eggs and mushrooms, cheese, omelets, that sort of stuff. So it's pretty miserable. And this is when I'm in college doing, actually post PhD days. I'm actually researching as a postdoc. I'm supposed to be a grown up with brains. Yeah. But I still put myself through this, you know.
But that just goes to show, and I think there are a lot of people out there who will resonate, you can become extremely caught up in this weight loss. My body needs to be perfect. World and culture that we're exposed to. Everywhere we turn, there's always something saying.
That's it. Like, I think body image drives a lot of it. Yeah.
100%.
So then, paleo was the crux for me. I just couldn't do it anymore, and I just was on the verge of pulling my hair out. I was just like, there has to be a different way. And I'd started training in the gym at this stage, and the turning point for me was actually when I said, all right, well, how can I actually get better in the gym? And that's the first time I ever thought positively about nutrition for my body. And because I wanted to get stronger, so I was like, I need to eat protein. Right, where do I get it? Is it okay to eat this? So the first cert I ever did was a sports nutrition one, because I wanted to just get better in my sport. So yeah, that was the turning point for me, the day I actually started thinking just a little bit differently about it. Now, I'm not saying that happened and then that was it. It took a year for it to kind of come full circle. A good year of working on myself. But then when it did, then I kind of went, right, have to tell everybody else about this. And that's kind of where it started. Yeah.
And that's how the Nut Coach was born.
And that's, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I came to, I was doing postdoc research in RCSI, the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland there. That was my last kind of proper job. And it's very much research based, so it's all contract work. When I signed up there, it was only for a year, and then it got pushed out to a year and 6 months, and then I think it was a year and 9 months in the end. The only way I was going to be able to stay on working there is if I wrote grants and got money in. But it's very competitive environment as well for money, or to get money for grants as well. Yeah. So while I thought, stay in college, whatever, and I think the thoughts did cross my mind about a year previous to that to leave and to pursue something else. But the one thing I always said, no, my mum will kill me. She'd kill me, because I spent 10 years in college. So I was like, no, I couldn't. So that held me back for long. But now she's probably one of, like, she's a big supporter now. So, you know, that was just, again, just your way of thinking holding you back. It's not actually a thing. It's just you've made it out to be a thing.
Exactly.
I never talked to my mum and asked her, what would you think if I left college? Like, but I had built up my own head. I'm a really bad overthinker. And I'll have all these conversations and think, oh yeah, that's what's happened there. But nothing has happened. It's just your own little messed up mind going round and round in circles. So then my contract came to an end. I just qualified as a personal trainer 2 months previously, and my kind of aim with that was never to go pursue it as a full-time. It was only ever really a part-time thing, just because I enjoyed it so much. My background is very teachery, I suppose. Like in school, I'd always be helping other people. If I saw somebody who couldn't do the maths, I'd help them. You know, even my dad, if he was having trouble, you know, hooking up the remote control to the telly, He'd always ring me because, just kind of like fixing things, solving things, figuring things out, helping people out. And then in college gave loads of grinds. Then I lectured for a while. So I've always kind of helping people out I've always really enjoyed it. And then when it came to the fitness side of things, then when I first got into kettlebells, I'd just kind of be helping people out in the class and stuff, just correcting technique. And I know some people are kind of like, who are you telling me what to do? You're not even the instructor here. So that kind of says, look, I'll go and I'll get the qualification. So I did. So it was only ever really I thought it was a part-time thing. Okay. But then it just an opportunity. I'd moved back from Dublin, or to Dublin from Galway. I was there 11 years. So my mum and dad are based in Dublin. And then, so when I kind of left the engineering, I just kind of said, sure, look, if it doesn't work out, I'll give myself 6 months, I will go move in with mum and dad. That's the worst that can happen. Like, thankfully, I never had to. So my goal every month was just to have enough money to pay my rent. And that was it. And if I had to go up to mum and dad's house for dinner, grand. So that was always kind of, that was just the goal, just to pay my rent every month. So so what I thought was only going to be a part-time thing, once I started it, I was like, no, this is great.
So you started the nut coach thinking, or the personal training thinking it was just going to be part-time?
Absolutely, I started it up 6 or 7 or 8 months before that. Okay. But I shut it down, because I wasn't ready. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't ready. Like, things happen for a reason, and something happened and it stopped me from doing it. But I know I wasn't ready. If I had started it, even those 6 or 8 months previously, I would have been one of those people, I suppose, projecting my not normal behaviour onto others, because I still wasn't, while I was probably 85% over all of my diets, there was still that little there, and I knew that if I had started earlier, I probably would have done more harm than good.
Do you think it's realistic that we can expect to ever get over our diet days completely? Do you think it's realistic that we can ever make peace with our food choices?
Yeah, I find now myself, I don't think there's no such thing as 100%. You never, like for me, the way I eat now suits me. But like, say I ever, I competed in kettlebell sport there for a few years, and I had to do, there was weight categories in the sport, so that was a trigger for me. Okay,
I didn't know that there was weight categories.
Yeah, weight categories. Wow. Yeah,
okay.
So we all compete with the same weight kettlebell, but just within different body weights. Okay. Yeah, so it's more max effort reps than max effort load. Okay. Yeah, so everyone competes.
Had trained all the way up to a postdoc level.
So
tell me about what that part of your life was like, and then again a little bit more about how it trickled into the nut coach stuff.
So I don't know, I've always known that I'm smart, and I'm not trying to sound big-headed or whatever. I think you're allowed to say that you're smart.
I think a little bit of confidence is okay.
A little bit of confidence without letting it spill over into ego. But I remember. It's a really silly story. I remember when I was 5 in junior infants, Sister Mary Veronica would have the maths up on the board, and she'd be like, right, so what's 2 plus 3, whatever, and I'm just 6. Yeah. And I'd be in the background going, oh. Okay. But I'd be and I'd be sitting there, and I'd always know the answer. But I was kind of no, I'll let someone else answer. So just, I know. But I always kind of knew, I was always just a little bit quicker when it came to, especially the math side of things, really flourished kind of on that side. And then in sixth class, we had a thing called Table King and Table Queen. Okay. Where you'd have, say, me and you standing up, and the teacher will shout out 6 by 6, and the first person just to shout out 36 gets to stand up, and whoever got it down, whereas I was like, come on, loved it, and not only, I didn't want to just beat the girls, I had to beat the boys as well. Okay. So I've always kind of been kind of competitive as well. Yeah. So and then secondary school, same thing. Maths was my big thing. Kind of pursued a lot of maths, physics, applied maths, biology, that sort of thing. And I remember going into my leaving cert and we did mocks. I did terrible in my mocks, really, really badly, only in the few months before it. And I failed my biology exam. And I remember my teacher going, Karen, what's going on? And I said, it doesn't matter, I'll get an A1 in the actual exam is. And she's like, oh, I'll hold you that. And I said, right. So I've always just been a little bit, tiny little, there's a little bit of cockiness there, but I kind of knew what I was capable of. So anyway, we went and we did the exam and I studied and I got my A2 in the end. So I remember coming out and giving her the high five or whatever. So went off to college then to do maths and something that combined maths and biology. And biomedical engineering was kind of the only course I could find.
I'm in awe of this. Like I'm in awe.
Really?
I could never get my head around maths or science.
Yeah, no,
school.
I loved it. I loved it.
I was far more on the artistic. I just want to play a ball outside. And I am always in awe, particularly of the awareness and the confidence that a young girl would have had around her abilities.
No, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I had a really good teacher, Miss Fagan, in secondary school as well. I'll never forget her. So she was a real inspiration for me because she knew what I was capable of and always kind of pushed me or whatever. So did really well, in maths, applied maths, physics, biology. So biomedical engineering, you just combined them all. So what it is, it's engineering, mechanical engineering, but just applied to the human body. So so that's what it is. Kind of, I kind of ended up getting into the medical device side of things. So that's kind of what that was. And then I don't know, just throughout college, I suppose. College was a weird one because I was always kind of the best at maths. I was always the best at physics. I was always the best. And then when I went to college with other people, and all of a sudden I'm not the best anymore. And it's kind of, damn it. So I ended up doing really bad. I failed my first year in college. And I went away to Canada, to Whistler, for kind of like on a J1 equivalent visa thing. And I remember I had to come back early, do my repeats, and disaster. So just kind of rebelled a bit, I think. Anyway, that was fine, and then continued on. And then, I don't know, just because like you are this person who always gets their maths right, you're this person who always gets A's, you always are the best, you're just kind of shuffled into this, streamlined into this pathway, and I never really questioned it. I just kind of went with it. And I was just like, I suppose the obvious choice now is to stay and do a PhD. Just never really thought about anything else. Like, if anything, you're probably putting off your life a little bit by staying in college. So then, did the PhD, and again, it was very maths-based, computational modelling sort of thing, computers, engineering, problem solving. But I don't know, I didn't love it. That's for sure. It was just something I was doing because I thought I had to. Just one of these expectations I thought I had to live up to, I never really questioned it. And then maybe 3 or 4 years into it, my supervisor was like, Karen, do you want to finish up with a master's? Because I was struggling, I was really taking my time. I was like, no. So I'm quite stubborn as well. So I don't take no for an answer sometimes. And even with myself. So he's like, do you want to finish up? And I said, no. Keep on doing it. And I remember 6 months later he said to me again, Karen, do you want to finish up the masters? I was like, no, god damn it, leave me alone, I'm going to do it. So so just pure stubbornness got me through that. I ended up having to work part-time for the last 2 years as well because I ran out of funding and I had to kind of self-fund as well. So it took me 6 years in the end to actually finish up with the PhD, but once I did, it was just like, it was brilliant. And then worked in Galway for a little while. And then I got an opportunity to move back to Dublin. So that was only in 2011. And I worked in, my first job was with Trinity College and St. James's Hospital. So liaising with the vascular surgeons in the hospital there. And what we would do was quite interesting actually. It was a good opportunity for an engineer to go into a hospital and see how the place works. So we went into theatre and kind of observed what problems the surgeons were having, and then we'd go back to the lab with their little tools and devices and make kind of mock like scenarios of what was happening and try and fix it and come up with little devices and stuff like that. So it was quite interesting. But again, it was grand, but I don't know, just never, I was always like, looking up other stuff online, or in my spare time it was never that. It was always kind of the fitness or the nutrition or something else. So
where did the first, I guess, your first sort of nutrition or fitness gig, when did that happen?
when I went to college, I did like hockey, tennis, that sort of stuff in school. And when I went to college, just kind of did nothing for a couple of years. And then during my postgrad, kind of got back into running and triathlons, that sort of thing. And then when I moved back to Dublin, I was doing triathlons. And I remember just like the repetitive action from the running just kind of didn't suit my knees. I was probably running bonky anyway. So yeah, got a sore knee, and I remember my friend Anya goes to me, sure, look, come up to this kettlebell class. That it should be all right on your knees. So then I went up to the kettlebell class, and that was the first introduction to weight training for me. So only in 2011, not even that long ago, really. And then I had an opportunity to become a kettlebell instructor. The main teaching body in Ireland came around to the gym I was in, and they gave away 1 or 2 freebie spots to the members there, just because we hosted it. So I did that. So then I kind of was teaching classes or helping out there for a while, so that's kind of where it started. And that was at the time then when I kind of was like, well, look, I need to get better at this, what can I do? And that's kind of where I went and I did the sports nutrition cert as well. So that was the first part. And then it was only probably about a year or 2 later that I decided I'd go off and actually, I may as well do the whole personal training side of things as well. Because when I was in Trinity, actually what happened was, it was funny actually, it's all these things happen really on a whim. Like I never plan any of these things. Like it's funny how it all happens. I remember we do tag rugby with the guys in Trinity, and I sent an email, Martin, the captain, he was trying to put together a team. And I remember I just replied all and said, when is the pre-season training starting? Messing, thinking, when we all go and get fit so we can win all our matches, And one of the lads replied, and they knew I kind of was into the kettlebells and stuff like that at the time. And one of the guys replied and goes, well, Karen, there's actually an opportunity to do a lunchtime fitness class, because the girl who was doing, actually Claire McGlynn, I'm sure people would know her. She, I follow her online as well. She's an amazing weightlifter. 100, amazingly impressive, But she was doing lunchtime fitness classes, and a lot of the guys on the tag rugby team were going to them. But then I think she went and set up her own business and pursued it. So the guys are like, we actually do want to do workouts on Fridays. Like, do you want to kind of lead them? So I said, sure, why not? Just kind of messing around bodyweight stuff, no weights or anything like that. So we just rented a room every Friday for a couple of months, and by the end of it, there was probably 10 or 12 of us every Friday. If it was during the summer, we'd go down to the park down in Pearse Street, do bear crawls up and down, whatever it was. So it was good fun. And then they kind of said to me, oh, would you ever consider it? I said, no. Sure, look, I'm full-time postdoc in Trinity and all this. So kind of all these things, little things happen. And then eventually I said, oh, sure, may as well. It was probably a couple of months after that I decided I'd go off and actually pursue it. So that's when I gotten the job in RCSI at this stage, and then I said I'd do the personal training thing part-time. So it was handy. It wasn't a full-time thing, so it was just part-time. I was able to qualify. It took about, I think, 8 months or something like that, part-time. And then I had no intention of ever using it. It was only, like I said, when I came to the end of my contract and there was no work in sight, that I just said, sure, look, why don't I give it a bash and just see what happens.
And then the food part, where did that come into it? Where did the nutrition and the weight loss come in? Because I didn't understand or know that there was such a strong, you had such a strong background in fitness.
Well, that's it. The reason why I got into it was more the sports nutrition side of it, because when I realised, this is actually what you do. I was like, oh, sure, So how I got into it initially thinking I wanted to go down the sports nutrition route. But then when I started it, it just kind of, I put the group together and stuff. How it started is completely different to what it has actually turned into. And when I started, I didn't realise how many people were in the same boat as me. It's only when I started telling my story that other people kind of started reflecting back. Or mirroring back, oh yeah, me too. Oh yeah, I did this, and oh my god, yeah, I did that as well. And I think we all just kind of came together, and we're just like this really mixed bag of personalities that have kind of formed the group now, and it's great fun to be part of. It's the members really that make it. But it started off as sports nutrition, but then yourself, people pay that's where the money is. To be honest about it, weight loss, people pay for that. I'm still doing the sports nutrition stuff in the background, but it's kind of more sidelined now. It's just naturally what happened was people just wanted to pay for weight loss, and that's just kind of how it started. That was what the demand was, I suppose.
And I think it's always going to be a part of it. You give a person what they want, and then you deliver on what they need. And I think what you're delivering on is a really holistic, sustainable approach towards life.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who is transitioning or wants to transition away from their job to something that they're passionate about, something that just arrived a little bit later in life? What advice would you give to that person?
Yeah, like I don't even know if I'm in a good position to give anyone advice, because
I think you are. I think you're doing okay for yourself.
Like I mean, I'm still learning a massive amount. Like, you know,
but if we're doing it right, we're always going to be still learning.
And that's it. Like, mistakes are just lessons. You know, like, you know, I don't regret anything I've done. Everything has happened for a reason, even if they were big setbacks, as I've had a good few of them. They happen for a reason, and whether it is the next day or whether it's 2 months down the line, I kind of go, oh, that's why that happened. You know, hindsight is a great thing. You know, you may not see it at the time, but always down the line, you know, life delivers its lessons in the most mysterious and harsh ways sometimes. But I do think there is this kind of higher power. I'm not going to say God, because I don't go to mass, but there definitely is that kind of higher power that everything does happen for a reason, like, you know, and you may not see it at the time. But I suppose the advice, well, I think two things, like being passionate is one thing, but like that can be overrated as well. I think you need more than that. I think you need to have kind of like more of a purpose nearly than a passion, but the two combined, like, you know, there has to be a reason why you're doing it. You know, it's all well and good to be really passionate about something, but if that's the only reason why you're getting into it, you know, that's kind of where some people might end up doing more harm than good, especially with fitness and nutrition, because they're so passionate about it, but they're so blindsided as well.
It can develop quite quickly into an obsession, which then begins to take over your life.
And people who are so passionate about certain things, at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're kind of lording their passion onto other people, but they don't necessarily see that their passion, it may not, it's distinct from, like what you said, like passion and obsession. There is a fine line there, I think, and I think with the health and fitness industry and, you know, bikini models and, you know, all the Instagram famous people, you know, not to be getting negative, but, you know, I often call the health and fitness industry kind of like a walking, talking advertisement for disordered eating. So they get so obsessed and they tell everybody else it's brilliant, and then everybody else thinks that this is normal and what they have to do, and they go and try it, and then they're led down this really kind of dangerous dieting pathway as well. So trying to get people away from that. But so that's the passion, like a purpose. But then like having the knowledge as well, like figuring out, well, be open-minded as well and figure out as much as you possibly can. Like you have to have that knowledge there as well, and a bit of talent as well. It doesn't do anybody any harm. But if you think you can do something positive for somebody, well then go try it. Why not? Like, you know, I thought, right, look, I'm in a good position here. You know, when I describe engineers, I think there's two types of engineers. There's the more design creative side of engineering, which is like the building and all that sort of stuff, and then there's the problem-solving side to engineers, but I'm definitely the problem solver. So, like, while I'm not actively, you know, employed as an engineer, I still think my skills are massively transferable into what I'm doing now. So it's not as if I all of a sudden one day went, oh, just because I've recovered from dieting, I can do this. You know, there's other elements there as well. Like, you know, there's the passion and, like, the purpose, but there's also the skills as well.
I'm actually really happy that you've said that, because I talk extensively about passion, and I've had multi-passionate entrepreneurs onto the show before, and the knowledge piece is huge, and it's so important as well. I think a lot of us rest in our passions sometimes as well, and we forget to inject and infuse that with staying up to date with knowledge, with upskilling constantly, and I think it's such an incredibly useful thing. And it's sometimes there might be someone listening to this going, oh, but that's so obvious. It wasn't obvious to me.
No,
so
that's it. Yeah. And as well, like, you don't have to know everything. Like, the day you think that you know everything is the day you're screwed. Like, you know, you just have to know enough. You just have to know enough so you're not endangering anybody's, you know, don't put anybody, you know, in a position where you were previously, or, you know, so like, so you have to kind of, you have to have that knowledge, you do, but don't let that stop you either. Like, don't ever think, oh, well, I need to know more. Like, I actually just got a message yesterday from a fitness guy who came to one of my seminars. maybe about a year and a half ago, I can't remember, it was one of the first ones a long time ago. And he actually asked me that exact same question. He wanted to start an online thing as well. And he goes, any advice? And I said, here, just do it. You just have to do it. I said, take action. I said, when I started 2 years ago, over 2 years ago now, like when I look back on it, I go, some of the stuff that I overhaul everything every couple of months, because I'm always writing, always looking up stuff, always injecting, always adding in new things. And I said, like, he was like, I'm just waiting until this and I'm waiting until that. Like, don't wait. I suppose that's the other thing as well.
You can wait forever.
Yeah, you can wait forever. There's never going to be a perfect moment of time. And I know that's a really cliche thing to say as well.
It's so true.
But it is true. You have to take action. Like, inaction is to your detriment. It really is. That's what's going to... Inaction is to your detriment. Yeah, so it's like facing any fear. Yeah. You just have to get one step closer to it, Yeah. Like my, friend's phrase.
You give me goosebumps.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. I love all this. I think action is the key to everything.
Yes.
And an idea is wonderful, and people who create and inspire amazing, but make it happen.
Yeah. But and that's actually now we're talking about it. That was a big turning point for me as well. If people knew me from my college days or my postdoc days, actually especially, they'll tell you I was the biggest procrastinator in the world. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm not doing it because it won't be right. Yeah. And one thing I used to always say, I'm very my background is all or nothing. I describe myself as a perfectionist in recovery.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I definitely was. Everything had to be right.
Yeah.
Even my mum and dad will tell you like, oh Jesus, Karen, go off now, because I just wanted everything to be right.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be my way. Like that's not what I'm saying. I just wanted it to be right, because there's a certain way of doing things that has to be right. Yeah. So it had to be very all or nothing, very perfect, perfectionist driven. So like that's where procrastination comes in as well, because I was like, no, fear of failure. Like I'm not going to be able to do it right, so I'm not going to do it at all. Yeah. Sure, like that's if you think about it, that's a pretty silly way to think about things. So whereas now I've kind of adopted the good enough approach. Yeah. I'm not accepting where I am now. Some people misinterpret that as well. I think I've had people say that to me. Well, no, I'm not going to accept that I'm just good enough, so that's it. I'm like, well, no, you can still strive to get better, but accept that you're good enough right now. Yes. But you can still strive to get better.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
I'm not saying I'm going to stay like this and not do anything ever again. I'm still going to keep on getting better, but I'm good enough as I am right now.
And I think that's a huge part of the problem in the diet or the fitness industry as well. People justify their irrational or obsessive behaviours because they want to get better. But the really disappointing part, or the part that I believe will always hold them back from being the best that they can, is never accepting and embracing where they are right now.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
that change never comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of hate, loathing, neutrality, dislike. Yeah. When you can start any change from a place of love, the journey is going to be so much better.
Yeah, and I know it sounds so hippy-dippy, it really does, and I say that to people all the time. Like, if you're not used to this now, this whole mindfulness thing is going to sound really hippy-dippy, and you're going to feel really awkward, and it's going to make you cringe a little bit. But that was a big thing for me as well, just self-acceptance. Actually, I'm an okay person. Yeah. Oh, people like me. Yeah,
but that's the missing part in so many people's journey, is that there is a spiritual element to it
massively
of working out what our purpose is in life and ways to express that's comfortable to ourselves. And if some people perceive that as hippy-dippy, as I did 2 years ago, then they have a little bit more work to do than someone who's at the point of going, I can look at myself in the mirror and like what I see. Yeah. Their life will be a little bit more fulfilled. Yeah,
that's it.
It's a journey. We're meeting people at different stages.
And just the self-acceptance as well. And the other big one is no judgment as well. So that's a big part of mindfulness and mindful eating and self-compassion. No judgment. So if you do mess up, you do whatever, fall off the diet and bandwagon. That's why I don't like having a wagon either. If you slipped up, made a little mistake, whatever, as long as you learn from it, it doesn't matter. But you have to move on. Judgment free. You can't, there's no point in dwelling on it.
Judgment free is so
much. I think so, that's a huge part of it as well. So, and just accepting that you are an imperfect human being, I think that's a big part of self-compassion as well, is nobody is perfect.
I think that's what is I think that's part of being a human being, is that accepting that no one person is going to be perfect, that there is going to be different tastes, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, and I think once you start thinking that way, that is what will revolutionise your life. Yeah, did I say that word right? Revolution. Yeah, it's life changing. And when people come to me and they say that, like, Karen, my life's changed, that's where I get shivers and I just go, oh, I'm doing the right thing. For you. Yeah, so, for all of the negative and for all of the setbacks, it's not ever going to be enough to stop me from doing what I'm doing when I have people come to me to tell me that they've actually changed their lives, because they've adopted this new way of thinking, It's amazing. Like,
you mentioned a few minutes ago social media in the health and fitness industry, and I think it would be wrong not to say something about it, just because within the health and fitness industry it is such a massive trigger, motivator, whatever you want to call it, for people embarking on health and fitness journeys or pursuing them. What advice would you give to your average Joe or Jane out there who's surrounded by all these social media accounts telling them to do X, Y, or Z? Yeah. Sometimes the approaches that the users of social media take are very extremist, and they're highlight reels. Yeah. And if you're Joe or Jane and you're consumed with self-loathing, it's difficult for us to know right from wrong. What advice would you give them?
The number one advice I could give is, if you are scrolling through Instagram, you're scrolling through whatever, Facebook, and you, at the end of your little scrolling, you feel worse, unfollow. Yeah. Unfollow. Simple as that. Unfollow. If you don't feel uplifted or some kind of positive response from looking at these accounts, unfollow them. I do the same, and it's not with fitness accounts, it's with my, say, competitors who are taking a slightly different approach. I used to spend a lot of time following these people and just going, oh my God, I can't believe they're saying that, oh, stay that, or oh, Jesus. And I'd be getting really negative, and it kind of all went inward, and it ended up really like making me unhappy. Yeah. So I've unfollowed some of the biggest, like some of the big names that everybody's following, and I just feel so much lighter as a result. I don't care. What they're doing is not any of my business. It's not going to change what I'm doing in any way whatsoever. So that's the advice I'd give, is to actually unfollow these people. While they think these people are acting as a source of motivation, they're actually acting as a source of demotivation. They're again pushing this kind of unrealistic expectations on themselves, and I think once you kind of raise that bar, that's kind of where, if it's unrealistic and it's not attainable, and you're never going to get there. Like, so I just think just unfollow.
I've had a conversation with a couple of people about the, I'm going to choose my words carefully, about the state of the health and fitness industry amongst social media, and I think it is quite disheartening to see at times. Yeah, I am a huge advocate of body positivity, as you are, of increasing self-esteem by focusing inward before you focus outward, of building confidence by examining the impact that you have in this world and not how many likes you have. Yeah, and through that, I've tried to, I guess, communicate messages on my social media account. I remember the first couple of times I started to post no makeup selfies, and the amount of unfollowers I got as a result. I was quite overwhelmed by it, and I just thought, why? This is the world that we're living in. Yeah. Since I've stopped noticing or tracking it or measuring it, now I've done what you've done as well. Yeah. I don't take count of the amount of likes I have and then the amount of likes I don't have after it. But I thought for me that was upsetting to see that a woman who was on a journey of trying to connect with her inner worth and value wasn't celebrated as much as the woman who is sculpting her abs for a stage. I know. Everyone has their own journey, their own purpose, and their own way to express it. Yeah. But I just thought it was a really interesting thing to happen. Yeah,
definitely. And what I would say there is comparison is the death of growth. Like, it really is.
I always say comparison is the thief of beauty.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So like you can have somebody else and for them to inspire you, but for that not to take away from your own greatness or beauty or whatever it is you want to say. But to directly compare yourself is the killer. An absolute killer. I say it the first day every month when I run the group as well. Right, lads, this isn't a competition, because some people are like, they want to have the nicest food photo of the day or whatever, you know what I mean? And I'm like, lads, it doesn't matter what your food looks like, and I tell them, don't compare, share. So that's,
I like that one.
Don't compare, share. So, you can be inspired, absolutely you can, but not if you are directly comparing yourself to that person all of the time. And I hate that. Some people, like, they put pictures up on the internet and, they're telling you that it's not for attention, but it's really obvious that it is, you know. And, you know, as well, I try not to do it personally. Like, I try not to. If I do put pictures of me up in the gym, it's always of me doing something. It's not just kind of just static posing. I don't really do that. You know, it's just not.
You mean you don't do anything like this?
No. It's just, I know it would just come off ridiculous. Like, I can't do it. I don't feel right doing it. But you know, that's not to say other people can't do it either.
Yeah, it's about, I guess, taking ownership over what's authentic for you. And I would be the same. I like to kind of focus more on performance-based stuff in the gym. But that message will resonate with some. But it's just about trying to paint a bigger picture for some people who might be consumed by the aesthetic, by the weight loss, by the body stuff. Yeah, so I kind of try to put out very subtle messages to people as well. Like communication and language is a big thing for me. So I'm very select about the type of language that I use. Like this is obviously off the cuff or whatever now, so I'm not able to say anything. But like that's why writing for me is great. I love writing because I can really take the time to consider, what am I saying? How are these words going to be interpreted by whoever down the road? You know, and depending on where she's coming from or he, and I'm very select about my language. So even if I do put up, like I take selfie just as much as the next person. Like, you know, it's only a bit of fun really, giving someone kind of a snippet into your life or whatever. So I'll put up a photo, and if anybody ever says, "Oh, you're looking great," I'll always comment underneath and say, "Yeah, thanks, feeling really good too." You know, I'll always try and get that message across. I like, you know, in other words, I'm not putting up this photo to show you that I'm looking amazing. I'm putting up this photo because I'm expressing how good I feel about myself right now. Yeah. So it's that sort of thing as well. So, and I know I try to use that language in the group as well a lot. Very select about the language I've used, and it's great when I see the other group members starting to adopt it, because I know that their mindset and perspective is starting to shift, and that's where I can just sit back and just let it all unfold. So while I do, you know, steer the ship or whatever, you know, the group members are just as important as well when they start using that same kind of language. So I think how you talk to yourself, and even just the type of, people think it might not be a big deal, but it plays a big role, massive role. Yeah. So when people, like, I don't like seeing when people put up photos of themselves and people are like, "Oh, you look great," and their reply is, "Thanks." And I'm like, yeah, like it's just this, you know, say something else. Say something about how good you're feeling, you know, or I felt really good because of this, or it was deadly that I was able to do that, or something. Don't just go, you know, and I know compliments, you have to learn to accept them as well. It's interesting that you say that. I'm doing a self-esteem, I'm working as part of a self-esteem program in the Elbow Room in Stoneybatter, and one of the seminars I did with the kids, they're between 12 and 15, was around... Brilliant age to get them at. Yeah, unbelievable. And we're so lucky that we have such an incredible group of kids at it. But it was a whole seminar around body talk. Right. And it was quite interesting to talk to the girls about accepting compliments, but that it's not always healthy to give a compliment based on how a person, person looks like. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so we're very similar there in that regard. Yeah. So like I'll put up little posts on my page as well. I'll say something like, you know, the next time you see me, instead of telling me I look well, ask me, am I well? Yeah. You know, and I'll, you know, so and people listen to that and they take it on board as well. I think because people kind of use that language as well. And you know, if you can start talking like that, that's where your actions, it reflects in your behaviours and your actions, and that's kind of that's where change comes from. You know, it's so important. And again, it's just so nice to hear that there's that approach towards, that someone is taking that approach towards health and fitness. Yeah. Because again, I work with a lot of women who are suffering from such low self-confidence, and such low body image, that if 2 or 3 years ago they had actually worked with someone who took the approach that you took towards helping them re-examine body talk, helping them re-examine food guilt, all that sort of stuff, I think it's just incredible. Yeah, and that's the other, food guilt as well. Like I'm very kind of, I'm bombarding Instagram at the moment with like all this kind of power to you. But you know, and then some people are kind of like, Karen, like, geez, any vegetables? Like, where's the blood? Just like, you know, like what I post is just, you know, it's I post the kind of fun side of food more often than I do the nutrient side of food, just because I'm trying to get it across. It's okay. Yeah. It is okay to eat food that is not nutritious. Like it really is. Yeah. And once people come around to that way of thinking as well, they're just like, wow, amazing. So what is your philosophy towards food or weight loss or nutrition or exercise? What's the philosophy behind the Nut Coach?
Food, it's just food. That's it. That is it. So many people internalize and make their diets who they are, or they become their diet. Yeah. And I'm trying to get people away from that. It's just food. If you eat more nutritious food, that doesn't make you a better person. Just because I eat more chocolate, that doesn't make me a worse person. You know, too many people internalize. Women actually do it more so. Some men do it as well, do it, but more women do it. They internalize their food choices, and they attach morals to it, and they make food good, they make food bad. I made a bad food choice, therefore I'm a bad person. You know, oh, I ate really well today, therefore I'm a brilliant person. You know, it doesn't work like that. It's just food. And too many people are far too judgmental on other people's food choices as well. And thinking that they're a better person, and they look up to them just because they eat, you know, raw cocoa and kale and spinach and, you know. But so I'm trying to detach the morals away from food as well. And it's a part of your life. You know, people make it, you know, as well, to go back to the Instagram thing, if you look another week and kind of your name isn't your name, like you can have whatever. Too many people are like, you know, hopefully I don't call out anybody now, but like say like the macro girl, you know. You know, they've defined themselves on macronutrient counting. Yeah. But Jesus, surely there's more to your life than counting macronutrients, you know what I mean? Or the paleo queen. Hopefully there's no such thing as the paleo queen. I don't know, God knows. But like there's more to your life. You're not, your diet doesn't define you. And that's, I think, what I'm trying to get people away from, is letting their diet define you.
You've given me goosebumps again. I got box of dishes just for this.
Brilliant. So there you go. Yeah. So that's just what I'm trying to do, really. And then you have the other people thinking that I'm being really extreme and telling people to eat crap all the time, but I'm not. If you come to me and you're a sports athlete and you need to make a weight for a competition and you need to count your macros, Jesus, I'll help you. Of course I will. And I'll give you all of the guidance, all of the structure, all of the mentoring that you need. I'm not anti-macronutrient counting. It is one way, and it definitely works, and it is a good way for some people. But I'm just trying to get it out of the norm. It's not normal. Counting your macros isn't normal. Yeah. But everybody seems to think now, because all of these fitness instructors are counting the macros, that it's normal. But it's not. And I think the health and fitness industry is kind of guilty of normalising. Is it unnormal or abnormal behaviour? I never know. Yeah. It's either un or ab.
Neither do I.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
But they're normalising a behaviour that's not normal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I have a problem. I think people who like kind of go around the macronutrient counting, same way I was tied to Weight Watch for so long, it's a crutch. They actually don't trust themselves. I've had a lot of fitness instructors contact me and say, Karen, like it's killing me. Like if I don't count my macros, I'll binge. Because they need it to keep them focused. They don't trust themselves. They don't know how to, they've no self-control around food, so they have to impose this very strict guideline. Or strict boundaries, because they just don't trust themselves.
For personal trainers and coaches working within the industry, there is a huge amount of pressure to feel like they always need to get it right and that they always need to be perfect. Yeah. And I think that inspires in their clients a sense that they also need to get it right and they also need to get it perfect. How do you think that we can, or what role is it that we should play to empower coaches to be real, to only help their clients forgive themselves more if they make a bad choice? Yeah. What is it that we can do to make things...
Well, you said it, just to be real and to be normal, and just to let people know that actually I don't have to look like this. I've had a good few women in the health and fitness industry, you know, come on board and tell me, well, they just feel this like pressure to look a certain way. They feel they should look like this, they should eat like that, and like that's one word that we could all do with getting rid out of our diet, like should. Like so I say to people all the time, are you like shoulding all over your happiness, you know, because like it's these unrealistic expectations again, like nobody is setting that standard except for yourself. And I think women in the health and fitness industry do that. Like so started off I was a little bit worried about that, like how am I going to be perceived, because I don't have six-pack, I don't want to have one, and it's okay not to want to have one. Like people think, oh, she's not dedicated enough because, you know, she's not willing to make all these sacrifices to get a six-pack. And I'm like, well, you know, like I'm not willing to make the sacrifices. You know, my happiness means more to me, my sanity means more to me, living my life means more to me. I'm not willing to sacrifice my social life, you know, to spend more time in the gym, to stay at home preparing my meals. And that's okay. That's what's normal. again, it's this whole abnormal behaviour filtering into normality, and I'm just trying to get people away. So I will post photos of me. I did one there after Christmas, kind of after dinner at my mum and dad's house, and I just stuck out my belly. And I said, this is what a personal trainer looks like.
Yeah.
But, and then I listed out all of these things that I can do as well. And that's the type of post, again, it's not me giving advice, it's just telling my story. Yeah. And that post went, got lots of feedback and lots of interaction, so again, it is just that element of just being real. And I've had some of the comments I've had are just next to horrendous, personal trainer that looks like she needs a personal trainer, this sort of stuff, and you're just like, so I've just learned not to take those, comments personally. I've gotten called a fat sugar lover and, all this sort of ridiculous stuff. But, I can spend time dwelling on it, but then again, what other people think of me is none of my business. So, you can't let that affect you. And I'm trying to get that message out to other women in the industry as well. Yeah. Yes, there is this perceived, look, but, it's not real. It's not real. And if you have to make so many sacrifices to achieve that look, do you expect, is that not false advertisement then? Yeah. Because you're telling your clients that they can also achieve this look. So people say that their own bodies they're kind of they're walking advertisements. But are you letting your clients know that level of sacrifice they have to make to achieve this as well? So, Yeah.
And I think it's also enabling people to define health and fitness purely by a standard of beauty or leanness or body fat percentage as well.
Yeah, fitness is not what your body looks like. Fitness is what your body can do. Yeah, you just repeated the sentence because you knew what I was going to say.
Yeah, because a part of the message that I try to communicate as part of the body positive work that I do with women myself is let's let go of the focus on what your body looks like and shift more towards what your body can do. And I have a hashtag, my body can.
Oh yeah, very good. Yeah, I must start using it.
It's an incredible eye-opener for women to be able to appreciate and respect and understand. I might not look like the shredded athletes in the magazine, but they don't look like that half the time either.
Yeah, no.
But by God, I was able to pick up my son from the ground today, or I was able to carry 6 shopping bags in my 2 hands. That sort of stuff, a part of it is normal, but a part of it is also awesome. Yeah, and you should never understand that.
Yeah, no, not at all. And again, you asked me about my turning point. I've had a few turning points, a few enlightening moments, let's just say, over the past few years, and that is definitely one of them. When I figured out that when I changed my focus in the gym, and I decided to go to the gym because I wanted to get better, not look better. That's when my training changed, and that's when I figured out, a lot about myself, and just realized actually, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with what I look like, or more than okay. Started to actually love myself.
And God forbid a woman loves herself.
I know, yeah. But again, and then it's the language. If you go to the gym to get better, to increase numbers, say on the bar or using a clock or whatever it is, wherever the focus is, and not a number on the weighing scales or not a body fat percentage. So again, that's that negative stripping away. If you can focus on the adding in, the addition, somehow adding a positive impact into your life. If you can change your focus in the gym to that, that's going to actually change your life. Because if you see, again, going back to the whole I ate a Mars bar thing, I have to burn off calories. If you do that in the gym, it's only a matter of time. It's not even a matter of if it happens. It's a matter of when it happens. You are going to see exercise as a punishment sooner or later. Yeah. And you're eventually going to give up because you think, oh God, bloody gym again because I ate whatever. If you constantly think like that, you will see exercise as a punishment, and it's going to suck the joy out of it for you. And you're just going to be punishing yourself and just berating yourself. It's just not a pleasant way to live your life. No. So instead, if you can see your food as well, the food I ate is going to actually fuel my workout. I'm actually going to lift more weight today because of what I ate. So if you see the food, I'm not saying food is fuel, it is, but that's not all it is. There's way more to it than that, so don't misquote me on that.
Nope.
If you can see food as something that's going to fuel a better workout, and you're going to walk away feeling better, surely that's a much better way to think of it. Yeah. And again, that sort of just thinking, language, again, it's just, you're doing the same thing, but how you're thinking about it is entirely different, and that's going to change your life. It really is. And so again, that was a big changer for me as well. Yeah. Now when I go to the gym, I don't think about food as the last thing on my mind, you know. It's the focus and the mental energy that has to go into squatting, whatever weight it is, or deadlifting, or even if it is swinging kettlebell or on the spin bike, whatever your chosen method of exercise is. You know, if you don't enjoy it, you know, it's going to make you feel worse than you already did.
Yeah. So I've always said to people that I work with, food plays multiple roles in our life, and we start to invest too much time and energy into thinking about that one role, and you see a lot of CrossFitters. Food is fuel.
Yeah.
A lot of you know, gym buddies. Food is something that will help me manage my weight. Whereas I like to be able to go, food is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And
food is fun.
Food is fun.
Yeah.
And food is enjoyable.
Fun.
And food is a celebration. And if you can't sit down and eat your favorite piece of whatever, whenever you want, without experiencing guilt afterwards, there's something wrong. And it goes back to what you said about trust, is that we don't trust ourselves with it.
I used to be one of those people, even when I started my job up in Dublin, I like a grown-up, supposed to be responsible adult, but I just was not taking responsibility for myself. Like, otherwise, supposed to be a responsible adult. And I remember doing, was it a paleo diet at the time? And someone kind of saying to me, God, you really just see food as fuel, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Thinking I was great. And I remember making an absolute fuss. We went out for lunch, and I can't remember what was in the salad, but I made such a fuss about not wanting tomatoes in my salad because there was too much sugar in them. You know, I know, like, and it's really sad, like really, really sad. I've been known to cry in restaurants before because I couldn't get the food that I wanted, and it's not. Like, it's upsetting sad, like not sad, it's actually upsetting sad to see someone. No, definitely not.
I've heard of women as well who will bring lunch boxes with them to restaurants to eat, and I think
I've done.
I
did it one time.
Yeah. Well, look, it's a rite of passage, and I think, you know, we can learn from those experiences, and it's going to put you in a better position to be able to work with people who have. But I think there's the message that you're trying to put across. I think more people need to hear it.
Yeah, I do, and that's kind of why I am a little bit, I suppose, present online. I try to have a presence because I am trying to get the message out. Yeah. Again, it's not about me. It's about I'm trying to get this message out to as many people as possible because I think it is such a big message and an important message for people to hear. So while people might give out about me and say, oh, you know, she's doing it for attention and all of this and all that, it's not. Yeah. I'm actually really sincere when I say that I'm doing it because I'm trying to get people to listen, and I want them to hear my message. And I know people will say, oh, you know, just work quietly in the background and people will eventually hear it, but I don't think
it's too important.
It's too important not just to sit back and only do one or two people at a time. Like, you know, so that's kind of why I might be a bit aggressive online.
No, people need to hear it. And again, if you were aggressively posting bikini photographs online, people wouldn't bat an eyelid. I've been the girl who's been consumed by her weight and by food, and the most empowering message that I've ever learned is that food is okay. And that it's okay to enjoy it, and it's okay to like it. And it's okay to have a rolly belly and wobbly arms and fat knees.
And what I say to people as well is food is fun, and food brings friends and family together. Like,
particularly in Ireland as well.
Yeah, it really does. And I'll say again in my seminars, I'm quite open and honest in my seminars as well. I've missed some of my friends' christenings because I was fearful of the amount of cake that would be laid out, and I wouldn't go because I was like, no, if I go to that christening, I'll get fat. I'll eat all the cake because there it's in front of me, you know, and I'd miss out on it. And when I was in college in Galway as well, I'd come home at the weekends and I wouldn't go out. My friends will tell you I don't know any of their college friends because I never went out with them ever because I was like, no, I can't go out. If I drink, I'll eat this and I'll get fat, and oh my God. So like, I hindered my life in so many ways. Like, people will tell you now, like they'll tell you I'm still the same person. Like, it's kind of weird how I describe it. I always kind of was like, oh, I thought I was kind of like a bit of a fraud. And I was like, if people ever found out who I really was, they'd hate me for it. You know, I was like, this whole kind of happy person on the outside, that's not really who I am. I'm kind of like, whereas every day behind closed doors, I was just like wallowing in like self-loathing, unhappiness, you know. And I always thought that's the real me. And if people get to know that real me, God, I'm screwed. I'll have no friends. But then another enlightening moment, I've had a few of them, was when I kind of copped on, I said, actually, that's the real me. The person who I am some of the time, that's who I am. And the fake me is that person who's getting upset about her diet, who's getting upset about what people think of her. That's not who I am. So now I'm kind of who I am all of the time. Well, most of the time. There's still a few days, you're never going to be happy out all the time. But yeah, my friends will tell you I've completely changed, how I am just in general over the past few years. And all that, the only change I've done is I've changed how I think about things. Like really, and it's just changed my life. So friends and family will tell you that,
I think your message is way too important to hide or to try to be subtle about, to do anything than what you are doing right now. I benefit so much from reading your posts.
Brilliant,
I think if I'm ever caught on a bad day and I feel guilty about something, because I don't know if I'm ever going to have it completely right, or if the journey is ever going to be perfect.
And that's what I was saying. It doesn't need to be.
Exactly. And you remind me of that.
Yeah.
And so I find everything that you do so incredibly empowering.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Delighted.
Before we finish out, what is it, and I always like to ask my guests that come on the show, dun, dun, dun. What one thing do you do every day to make your business awesome and your life awesome?
I get up and I try and make my bed.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Because I was actually only thinking about this morning as I was making my bed.
Okay.
If I have, I like to say, what is it? A tidy sock drawer is a tidy mind. Oh. So like, if you have a clean environment, with a little bit of organisation in it, like I guarantee you, if you came up into my room one day and you saw a mess, that means my head is a mess. My headspace is just
there's a lot to say that cluttered space is a cluttered mind.
Yeah. So similar. That's kind of really much. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So. It just sets the tone for the day. To go back into the nutrition side very briefly as well, breakfast is a great time of the day to set up any new behaviours or habits. Okay. Even if you just make that one positive choice in the morning, it kind of sets the theme for the day. Yeah. So, you're kind of opening, and then you're like, oh, well, I actually want to continue with this for the day. So, so getting up and just making an effort to actually just make my bed. Okay. And if it's the one thing I do, and one positive decision in a day, and that's fine. I'm happy enough with that,
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So,
and what do you do to make your business awesome? So if you're to look at purely the confines of the Nut Coach and what you're doing to grow your business and to build on it, what one habit?
It's communication with people and honesty, trying to maintain as much integrity as I can, working off a set of morals. I have a set of principles, and just staying true to myself, and not internalizing the negative feedback as well, and just kind of letting it flow over, and so I think communication with people, and just making sure you reply to every single message, because that's what people want to feel like, oh, she cares about me.
People want to feel like they're being listened to.
Yes, they want to feel like they're being listened to. That's exactly it. Yeah. So even if it is on Facebook, even if I have to spend 2 hours on Facebook replying to all the comments on my posts every day, I'll do it. Okay. And even if a few days goes by, I'll always go back and I'll reply to every single comment, any message that comes in through. Some might take longer than others, but just keeping in touch with people. Yeah.
If people wanted to find out more information about you, can you list off websites and social media?
Everything is just The Nut Coach. So at The Nut Coach, thenutcoach.com, Karen at thenutcoach.com. That's it. Yeah, my Facebook, Instagram, it's all the same name, just The Nut Coach.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So guys, make sure that you check Karen out at thenutcoach.com and on her Instagram and Facebook, which I will have linked in the comment section below or on the screen. Thank you so
for
much.
having me. Yeah, it was a great chat.
Yeah, it really was. And it was so empowering and so inspiring and so refreshing to hear of your approach. And I think that we need more of it out there. So thank you so much for just remaining true to yourself.
Thank you.